Hi guys, in this video I want to talk to you a little bit about hitting with long pips or hitting with anti-spin. What I'm really focusing on here is I'm discussing hitting as in hitting aggressively, flat, hard, with power, consistently, sort of as part of your style basically. So I'm not talking about the occasional hit of a high ball, an easy ball with the long pips or the anti-spin. That can be done by anybody at any time if the ball's up and easy enough. What I'm talking about is the type of player who's down, who wants to, with the long pip or anti-spin, to have against a tough ball low, to be able to hit that flat and hard with the anti or the long pip and put the opponent under pressure with his pace and I guess with the awkward difference in speed, spin as well. But really pressuring the opponent with hitting flat, hard and fast, driving quickly with the long pips or the anti-spin. When discussing this with my students, because I have in the past had discussions on this topic with students, I give them the same advice that I'm going to give you now. And what that is essentially don't do it. Okay? I think it's a bad idea in a nutshell. And I could talk for ages on this subject, I suppose, and probably have in the past. But what it basically boils down to is that long pips and anti-spin aren't designed to be rubbers used to hit flat, hard with power. Okay? In today's game. It's not going to work. What you've got to think about is that with an anti-spin or a long pip, you can't put a lot of spin on the ball. You're really stuck with what your opponent gives you, and you can then return it back, more or less. You can kill it a little bit, but really you can't affect it too much. Okay? So what that means is if your opponent blocks the ball, or he top spins the ball, there's not really any way that you're going to get a significant amount of top spin on the ball when you try and hit fairly flat. You're certainly going to get pace, but in order to get the ball down on the other side of the table, there's not a lot you can do to get much spin. And that's a problem, because if you think about a net's about 6 inches high, about say the width of this bat, so that's the net height. Now in order for me, if I'm going to hit flat and hard, I did a little bit of working out of the physics in the past, and I worked out off a good flat hard hit between this side of this end line and the end line at the other side of the table, the ball only drops about 2 centimetres. Okay? Nearly an inch. That's not a lot of drop from gravity. Okay? Anything else to get the ball down has to come from the top spin. And the problem you've got with long pips or anti-spin is that you're not going to get much top spin. So the ball's going to go fairly flat, and it's not going to dip very much from gravity. Now the problem you then get is that essentially if you hit the ball at net height and you've got to clear the net on the other side, the ball's going to go from this side straight over the net, and it's going to dip about 2 centimetres. You're not going to hit the other end of the table. Okay? You're going to miss it. And you're not actually going to have a chance to hit the other end of the table, even the end line, until the ball is actually up about another 5 inches, because you're going to get about 1 inch of drop from gravity. So the ball actually has to be about 11 inches high before you really have much chance at all of smashing the ball hard with long pips or an anti-spin, getting the ball on the other side of the table. And I'm still talking about just getting it on the end line, let alone getting it in with some safety. Okay? To get it in with some safety, we're probably talking about 1.5 foot or higher now. And to have the ball, 1.5 foot up here against a good opponent, the ball's not going to be up here very often. You're not going to get a lot of chance to hit very flat and very hard. So all of these balls down here that you're trying to hit flat and hard, you're going to miss. Unless, the one proviso, unless your opponent's put a lot of backspin on the ball, in which case your anti-spin or your long pips can turn it into top spin, and that will give you some more dip. So if the ball's been backspinned, sure, you have a little bit more option to hit hard. If the ball's been blocked or top spin, probably not a lot of room for error until you're getting at least about 1.5 foot above the table. You know, at which point the net becomes more or less irrelevant because you can almost hit down into the table at that stage. Okay, so I think in general it's a fairly, it's in terms of me coaching students, especially for people like yourself, who most students who only play maybe 2 or 3 hours a week at most. Okay, you don't have a lot of time to practice. This sort of stroke, hitting flat with long pips or anti-spin against low balls that don't have a lot of backspin, that stroke is something that's just basically very, very tough, and it's on a risk versus reward ratio. The risk is way up here, the reward is way down there. I don't think it's worth it. Okay, I think you have better options than that, because even if you do hit it, okay, you may surprise the opponent with the difference in spin, but the pace is going to be fairly similar to normal pace. It's still going to be fairly fast. So against a good opponent, once you adjust to the difference in spin, I don't think you're even going to get a lot of benefit there. Okay? And the only balls that you can do it against are those with a significant amount of backspin, which mean that it's either a push from your opponent close to the table, or it's a chop from long range. If it's a chop from long range, you should have, in theory, plenty of time to change the bat to the inverted and hit it hard with the inverted anyway. And if it's a push close to the table, you're probably better off, if you're stuck with the long pips, doing a shovel type push rather than trying to hit it flat and hard with the long pips. Okay? When I'm coaching, and what I'm trying to get across is to people like yourselves who are only playing a couple of hours a week, you have to firstly know your limitations, you have to work within them, try and expand them for sure, but you have to use your time in the best way possible. This particular stroke, trying to hit flat and hard with long pips or with anti-spin against anything except a fairly heavy backspin ball that can turn into topspin, and against low balls that are sort of below that 11 inches or lower, it's basically, it's just it's low risk reward ratio. It's not a waste of your time, but for someone like yourself, even for someone like myself, unless you're particularly talented at that stroke naturally, it's a big ask to do. It's very, very difficult to do it consistently. And then to do it under pressure when the opponent's moving the ball around and try and play that stroke. The margins for error are so low that I think it's one of those strokes that is best left alone. Go with other options. Your other options are generally, if you don't have time to twiddle, then push it, or shovel push it, or what I would generally do, roll it with the long pips. Take advantage of the change of pace, give the ball some time to wobble, to bounce sideways, bring your opponent in and out, rather than hitting it very flat and hard. But get the ball on the table and work within the limits of the rubber. If you have time and you want to be aggressive, twiddle and then hit flatter but with enough spin that you can generate enough spin to bring the ball down on the other side of the table. Again, a good way to just sort of back that up is take a look at not just the elite world level, take a look at any level, high level in your state, high level in your county. Take a look at the best long pimple players, or the best anti-spin players. See if any of them hit consistently low balls flat that have been blocked or pushed. I don't think you'll see very much of it. And it's because really at that level it's so tough to make it work. It's not that it can't work. Sure it can work. There's always going to be someone who can make it work. But what it takes to make it work is so difficult. You're working so much against the natural thing of what this rubber can do, that it's really, you'll find 1 in a million type thing rather than making it common. Okay? If you can master it, would it be effective? Yeah, it would be hugely effective. It would be very, very difficult to play somebody who can take a ball that's there, whack it hard with long pips or with anti-spin, and also do it with the inverted or push it. Yeah, that would be really, really difficult to play against. But you just don't see it, because 99 out of 100, or maybe even closer to 999 out of 1,000 of us, we can't do it. Certainly not with only 1 or 2 hours a week of training. Maybe with 20 hours a week of training, yes, you could do it, you could master it, but you then have to ask yourself, would that be the best use of your time? Or would there be better things to be working on that could make you a better player faster than trying to go against the odds? I think there are. So for me, in terms of this long pip hitting stuff, if the ball is up high, you can hit it with anything. Anti-spin, long pips, inverted, no problems. If the ball is low, if you want to hit it with long pips or anti-spin, it had better have enough backspin on it to turn into top spin to bring it down on the other side of the table. And even then, I would tend to use not so much power necessarily to beat my opponent with power, but maybe just enough power to keep him off the table and stop him coming in and whipping one fast past me. Try and keep him away. So rather than hitting a winner and then hoping that the change in pace and spin, the subtle changes, might force a mistake. I don't think I'd be trying to hit winners with it. It would still be, even off a good backspin ball, it would still be a big ask. I'd much rather go with the inverted side. So again, in terms of the technique, well, I did all that back in month 1 and 2. You can see all those videos of me push, roll, hit, push, roll, hit. You can see the basic technique. There's not a lot to the technique of it. It's not a lot different. The bat angle would have to be a little bit different and everything like that, sure. And you can see the bat angle in those videos. But I really don't think it's, for people like ourselves who don't have a lot of time for training, I think trying to develop that particular stroke is not the best use of our time. I wouldn't encourage it, and I think against those sort of balls you have better options. Against high balls you can use anything. Against those lower balls you have better options that will be higher percentage and can still put pressure on the opponent without you making a lot of easy mistakes. And that's really what this is about. You will make too many easy mistakes compared to the amount of points that you'll win. And that's why I don't recommend trying to hit with long pips or anti-spin as part of your natural style, hitting all the time. And that's why I think also you don't see it very much. Very effective, but extremely difficult to pull off, especially under limited training time.